Too many practices look nothing like real games. If your drills aren't translating, it's time to make a change. With games-based coaching, every drill can prepare players for real competition. In this video, three-time state championship coach Nate Sanderson shares 3 ways to maximize game-based coaching in your practices. You'll learn how to progress drills, how to add constraints, and how to use creative scoring systems. Before we get to the video, be sure to click the link in the description to get access to a free PDF that includes 10 small-sided games for player development, complete with diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips. Now let's get started.
In order to create a context for decision making, we're going to give you a series of drills, each with a different progression, that's going to create different challenges for your players working on the same skill. We're going to start farther away from the basket and work our way into the front court, beginning with transition offense. And in that, you'll see a drill, our first drill, called half court wing ahead, where we're going to start with the offensive man with an advantage. They're going to try to finish in the open floor, out of the wing lane, running wide, catching the ball, and scoring before a trail defender can catch up to them to contest the shot. This is an example of a skill because we're doing it with a live defender as part of the drill, as opposed to just running layup lines with no defense. The advantage in a situation like this is twofold. One, it allows for a variation or for random situations to occur within the same drill. There may be times where the defender is able to catch up to the ball, and now the player is doing one-on-one moves with the defender in front of them. In other circumstances, where the ball stays ahead of the defender, they may be finishing at a higher rate of speed than what they're comfortable because they're trying to beat that defensive player to the basket. Those are all contextual skills, exactly as what they would experience in a game, in a transition situation, with the defense pursuing the basketball and trying to prevent them from scoring. Now, once players master a skill in a one-on-one with a disadvantaged defender situation, we're going to gradually add to the challenge. We're going to change the drill, so now the defense and the offense are more or less straight up. It's one-on-one. Once our players are able to be proficient, meaning that they can score, say, 50 or 60% of the time against an even one-on-one matchup, we're then going to introduce another defender. One of those defenders now will be disadvantaged, the other one will be live, and we're going to allow the player to go 1 against 2 to create an even greater challenge for them. The final progression will include 2 live players. So the offensive man will be going 1 against 2, trying to score in the most difficult situation that we can contrive with 3 players on the floor. Now, the purpose of creating various levels of challenges is so that you can take your players and put them into one of those drills where it's most appropriate for them. We don't want players to be in a drill where it's too easy. For example, if I took my varsity players and had them play one-on-one with the defensive player always getting up out of a chair, they would win every time. They understand how to take long steps and aggressively drive to the basket and to maintain that advantage that they would have over a defender that's standing up out of a chair and trying to catch up with them. The challenge isn't enough to push them into a new skill level. So we would move them on and we would play them in an even situation, or we would add a second defender maybe for some of our more advanced players so that the challenge is appropriate for the person that's on offense. We're trying to give you the ability to create those kinds of drills in your practices, whether you're working with youth teams or beginning basketball players and they need an advantage for the offense in the different contexts that we're going to give you, or you're working with advanced players or elite players or even college level players that need a greater challenge. They need to be able to play 1 against 2. They need to be able to attack a help side defender while being chased from behind, because that's the appropriate challenge level for them to be able to experience both success and failure.
Are your players making smart decisions under pressure? If not, it's because your practices aren't game-like enough. As Coach Nate Sanderson says, it's time to train like the game plays. If you're ready to do just that, check out Nate Sanderson's game-based training system, a revolutionary program designed to build high IQ players who thrive in real game situations. The system includes 50 small-sided game-mimicking drills, 6+ hours of practical on-court video teaching, and an ebook with scalable progressions, making it perfect for players of any age or skill level. This was created by 3-time state championship coach Nate Sanderson and enables you to capture his championship building methods and bring them to your gym. It's flex-friendly too. It's designed for just 2 to 4 players. So whether you're short on players or have your entire team, your practice stays powerful. Elevate your team, build smarter, tougher players, and turn your practices into game-ready environments. Grab Sanderson's game-based training system now. Your edge this system awaits. Learn more at the link in the description.
One of the other advantages of using a game-like approach is that you can turn your drills into competitive games by just using a simple scoring system that both rewards offense and defense. For example, if you have an offensive player that's playing one-on-one +1, so they're trying to beat a defender in the open floor and then beat someone that's already back on defense around the rim, if they score in that situation, you might give them 3 points, or you might give them 2 points for a made shot and a bonus point if they were to jump stop in the lane and penetrate to the depth that you want them to in transition. But you also want to be able to incentivize the defense. You want them to be able to play hard and try to stop the offense by whatever means necessary. And so you would give each of those defensive players a point if they were able to get a stop in that drill. And by playing the same situation or the same scenario over and over for 3 or 4 minute increments in your practice, very quickly you can get winners and losers that you can reward or punish however you like to in your practices, but it makes a competitive environment. Now, along those lines, if you have players that are going to struggle to finish in a 1-on-2 situation or in some of the more challenging versions of our drills, you can score the process by having them advance past a certain point. Maybe instead of trying to score a layup or get a shot at the basket, they're simply trying to get to the end of the volleyball court while still being in possession of the ball. You'll see that in a couple of our full court one-on-one drills in a little bit. In the offense, you might see players that are able to score in the post without using a dribble. Maybe just attempting a move without a dribble, they get a point for. And if they score, they get another point on top of it if their shot goes in. Using the scoring system to be able to incentivize effort and the skill that you want them to improve is another way to manage the constraints to get what you want out of your game-based drills. Part of the artistry of using a game-like approach is being able to manage the constraints of your drills. In other words, as a coach, you have the opportunity to manipulate all kinds of variables in a drill that may maintain the same structure, but be altered just a little bit in order to focus on one particular skill or to change the situation or the problem that your offensive player has to solve. I want to give you some examples before we get into the DVD of some of the ways that we disadvantage the offense. In other words, that we create a bigger challenge for them in the context of our drills. The first example of a constraint that you'll see in this DVD is simply to increase the challenge for the offense, we add defenders. We may start with a disadvantaged defender, and you'll see some different ways that we do that. Some of the time the defender will start in a chair. They'll have to stand up before they're allowed to play defense to give the offense a 1 or a 2-step advantage in whatever the finishing drill might be. Another way that we would disadvantage a defender might be to give the offense a running start. Maybe in transition, they're running down the floor while the defense has to start from a flat-footed position. Again, this creates a window of opportunity for the offense because the defense is starting from behind. A third option might be your positioning of the defender on the floor. You may play them tighter. Their chair may be closer to where the offense starts, which means that there's going to be more ground for them to recover to. If that's too easy for the offense, you might move the chair back or move the defender back away from the offensive player to give them more space to move and cut off a drive to the basket, forcing the offense then to solve a different problem. But we're going to start there with an offensive situation against a disadvantaged defender. Now from there, to increase the challenge, we're going to manipulate drills in all kinds of different ways. The most obvious is we're going to add defenders. So instead of going one-on-one against a disadvantaged defender, we'll play against a live defender, and then we'll add a second defender to make it more challenging for the offense. You'll also see us decrease space on the court. The more space that a defensive player has to guard, the more advantage there is for the offense. So by taking some of that space away and having the defense only guard in a limited area, you're making it more difficult for the offense to beat that defender. Another thing that you'll see is that we may reduce the amount of time that the offense has to execute a move. For example, in a drill you'll see early in the DVD called 5 seconds to score, we'll put the offense on a 5-second shot clock starting from half court, and they have to score or get a shot off in 5 seconds or less. The advantage to that is that it makes them go in a straight line, it makes them attack aggressively, it makes them, from their first step to their finish, go at game speed. And again, because the defense only has to guard for 5 seconds, it makes it more difficult for the offense. Another way to make the game more difficult for the offense is to enhance the defense. Now, we may not show you very many examples of this in this DVD, but in our practices, oftentimes to make longer defenders, we'll give them noodles, like the pool noodles that kids play with in the pool, to make longer arms and encourage them to get deflections on the ball. We may add extra players around the basket with blocking pads to rough up our post players just to get them used to playing with contact. But by giving some enhanced skills to the defense, you're increasing the challenge to the offense. Another thing that you'll see us do here is to restrict the options of the offensive player. For example, they may come off a ball screen and attack the middle of the floor, and we force them to get into the paint before they're allowed to shoot it or allowed to score it. We do this because it engages the second defender. They can't just pull up and shoot it after beating the first defender. They have to go and engage the help side to be able to score. You can restrict the movement of your post players or limit their dribbles. You'll see us play some one-on-one in the post where we won't allow our post players to use a dribble at all. They have to score with positioning and footwork. Now, certainly that's a greater challenge than what they're going to be experiencing in a game, because in a game we're going to let them dribble if it gives them an advantage. But by making it more difficult in practice, we're elevating their skills by elevating the challenge that they encounter in the drill.
We hope you enjoyed this games-based coaching video. If you want instant access to 10 small-sided games for player development, make sure to click the link in the description so you can gain access to a free PDF featuring diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips. Again, if you incorporate these drills into your practices, you will see your players improve throughout the season, making them and your team more successful. Make sure to click and subscribe and then click the bell button so you're the first to know when we release more new videos. Thanks for watching.